garlic. We really appreciate y'all coming out. This is Josh at Fabel Farms. So Josh, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hey y'all, I grow organically grown vegetables and I produce honey and eggs.
He does, and his garlic is amazing. So he is one of the go-to people I go to if I have any garlic questions. We will be doing a class out at his farm in November when he plants his own garlic.
Yes.
So that comes to my question. When is it time to plant garlic in South Carolina?
I would say you want to wait till around November, Thanksgiving time, because it is cool enough by that time that the garlic doesn't want to grow until next year when it's supposed to.
Okay, cool deal. And you sell restaurants? You sell
Restaurants and a couple grocery stores in the Columbia area.
Cool deal. So, what type of garlic do you plant?
I mostly plant soft net, so like California early, a little bit of hard nets, like German types, and some elephant garlic.
Cool deal. And can you tell us a little bit of the difference between them?
Yes. My observation is that the early garlic, like the California varieties, are a little bit more milder flavor. And then the hard nets are a lot of times a stronger flavor. And then the mildest is the elephant, but it's really big. They get big as a baseball.
Okay.
And they're great for roasting.
Now, a lot of people have come to me and say, I do not sell hard net garlic. But you plant it, I plant it. Can you tell us a little bit about why we shouldn't, or better, why we should?
Yes, most people say that hardneck garlic only grows up north, so in your northern climates that have a lot of snow. I would say that's probably true for if you're growing commercially, but for the home gardener and home consumer, there's nothing wrong with planting a small amount of hardneck garlic. They just don't get as big as your soft necks in the South.
And sometimes when I pull this up, it'll look more like an onion.
Yes, it may not have the bulb development, but it still has great taste.
It tastes so good. I also like to kind of eat the tops too. I'll cut them, kind of like you do onions or chives. But some of these will make a really delicious scape. Can you tell us about the scape?
Yes. So the scape is the shoot that comes off the plant in the spring, and it's the beginning of it trying to reproduce and make a seed pod. So if you pick it early enough, they're very tender.
So the chefs that you sell to, what do they make?
They use a lot of the scapes for pesto and then other dishes because it has a much more garlic flavor than the garlic bulb itself.
Yes, it's real savory.
Yes, the very, very strong garlic flavor. When you pick them tenderly, they are fantastic. You may not want to put it in here, but they're so strong that you cannot eat it raw.
Yes, that is very, very true. Unlike the onion where you cut the green and it's kind of like the chives, this is, it's very, very strong. It's better used in cooking, unless you like really strong, the really strong taste. Is there any questions from so far? Okay, then we'll go on. I guess we hit it pretty good so far, right? So both of us are going to be planting all of these types of garlic because I love them. They're fantastic. We're going to move on to soil. Are y'all doing in raised beds or y'all doing more containers?
Well, I was thinking about using containers. Is that a good idea?
Yes, I would say for the home gardener and when you're only planting a small amount, containers are fantastic.
Okay.
It's easier to control weeds, keep it mulched, watered, and also keeping an eye on it. And then the soil is really loose in a container, and so you'll have more bulb development than if you live in clay, and it's harder for that bulb to grow big.
Could you one more time hold up each type of garlic and tell us what it is?
Yes.
This is an elephant garlic. It's going to grow the biggest, have the biggest seeds, and has the mildest flavor. This is German red, and this is a hardneck type that grows well in the South. And this is California early. It grows really well because it's a soft neck in the South, and it has a milder flavor than the German.
Good question. Thank y'all. And feel free to chime in if y'all have any questions. Talking about the soil for the containers, I like the sun grow, and you But I love to mix the sun grow with the black cow. What do you think?
I think that's a great suggestion.
Yes. But if you're planting in the ground, what do you think? What would you do?
I would make sure before you plant in the ground that your soil is mixed with good organic material. That could be black cow, black dirt, sun grow, or you've been adding leaves or any other black dirt to your soil. If you're growing straight in clay, I would think is okay, but you're not going to have the bulb development that you may desire.
Yes. And you can also make a trench and you can backfill with the sun grow,
Yes.
the black cow, and everything that Josh just said also. So, how exactly do you plant this? Because you don't plant this whole bowl.
No. So you want to take this garlic, and I'm going to use this elephant as an example because it's got the biggest seeds. So when you get this from Sally, you pull the garlic apart, and you want to plant each seed with the root side down because it's going to send a shoot up. And you want to approximately plant it, as in this elephant garlic, 2 seeds deep. Okay. So you want to plant this in the trench or in a hole with enough room for 2 seeds depth of soil on top of it.
Yes, exactly. And that's for loose soil. If your soil's a little bit more clay, you may go a little bit more shallow. Now,
I have a question.
yes.
You mentioned that we should buy our seeds from Sal's. Why can't I just use the grocery store type?
Excellent question, because the grocery store, those companies put a growth retardant on it so it doesn't grow a plant while sitting in a grocery store. Same thing with potatoes. That's in the grocery store.
So it can stay on the shelf for a long time.
Yes.
And there is also an organic growth retarder. I don't know if many people know about that. So even if you go organic, it may or may not grow. So, and getting back to the size of the clove, these other ones are a lot smaller than the elephant. So you're going to peel it off, and pretty much the size of it's about how deep you're going to bury it. You can bury it a little bit deeper in the south, of course. And why is that, Josh?
Because the reason you want to grow it deeper in the south than some instructions on the internet, those instructions are for northern climates. Because you do not want it trying to grow during the winter. You want it to stay dormant. The longer it stays dormant, the bigger bulb you will produce when it starts to grow in the spring. And then after you plant it, you want to put some kind of mulch on top of it, or straw, or something to keep it cool during the winter. Because we all know you'll have a warm spell in the winter, and you do not want it to, it's not going to hurt it, but you do not want it to try to grow until the spring.
Okay. And so if it starts growing, because if we have an unusually hot summer, in my experience, you just may not get as big of a garlic head.
Correct. There is not any difference in the taste. It just won't get as big. And so if you wanted garlic in the spring, you can pull it up. It just won't be as big as what you see in the grocery store. There's nothing wrong with the taste.
And even if it's like an onion bulb, when you pull it up, you don't really pull it up, you dig it up.
Correct.
It's very hard to pull up. So if you pull it up, you're not going to get anything and be like, I don't have any garlic. Get you a shovel, you need to dig it up. And if it looks like an onion, you still can chop it up, mince it, dehydrate it, just cook with it just like you would do if it wasn't a split bulb. But in the south, we don't get a ground freeze, and the ground freeze really helps that bulb to split up and also make it bigger. So I learned this from Josh probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So he loves to put cottonseed. Now, do you dust the cottonseed before you cover the hole, or do you put the cottonseed?
I put the cottonseed in with the whole, with the garlic, so it acts as a good fertilizer. It's high in nitrogen.
Yes.
And so when I plant the garlic, I put my fertilizer in the cottonseed meal down in the trench before I put the bulb, and then I cover it up.
Yes, and this is cottonseed meal. So what exactly is cottonseed meal?
It's to grind up seeds and in the cotton plant after they harvest the bulb, the white bulb.
So it's sustainable, right?
Yep.
And then I also suggest once a month using the organic tomato because it's got calcium, it's got magnesium, it's got your nitrogen, it's got your phosphorus, it's got your probiotics, it's got everything in it. So I really, really like the organic tomato You can also make your own fertilizer. We have a YouTube video on how to do that, but I use both to make our own fertilizer, plus use the organic tomato town. So is there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I was planning on planting is it soft neck garlic?
Yes.
Can I just put a Tums on each little plant, or how do you use Tums?
Well, we get a lot of questions about using Tums as calcium. I would say if you're a plant that's soft neck, just use the blue Tums.
I'm gonna add this. I ain't never heard that before in my life.
No. I am so sorry for that, but no, you know, you can use Tums. I've heard of people using Tums for calcium. You know, this bag is a lot cheaper. You know, so. Sorry. Bad joke.
So could you give us kind of a roundish idea of when we should plant it in the winter and when we should plant it in the spring if we don't get it in the winter? And
Yes. So, planting wise, so if you go ahead and if you buy your seeds, your garlic seed stock from Sally, I advise put it in the refrigerator because that's tricking it into going into dormant. It likes cold before it grows in the spring. So you can put it in the fridge, plant it anytime. I just try to get it in before Thanksgiving. You can plant it anytime, but the later you wait to plant it, the less bulb development you will have. And so, and if you don't want bulb development and you want something called green garlic, which is garlic that looks like an onion, it's perfectly fine to plant in January, February. Perfectly fine.
So how long should we leave the garlic in the refrigerator before planting?
I suggest at least a month.
Okay.
Josh, when do you harvest?
So I harvest around June time, and how you know when to harvest if you want full bulb development is when the plant starts to die, which is traditionally in June when it gets hot. But between that time, I would say between the beginning of May and June, you really want to make sure it's really good and watered so that the top of the plant stays alive. But when the top of it starts to die and dry off, that is a good time to harvest it because it will not make it through the summer.
Okay, and how's the best to store it?
I would say when you're digging it up, grab it by the plant, at the base of the stem of the plant, and take a trowel and gently go down the ground and dig it up and pull it up at the same time. Get all the dirt off the bulb, and then hang it in your kitchen or wherever you'd like to hang it. Put good air flow around it to keep it from rotting.
Okay, cool. And I leave mine on the ground and just kind of harvest as I need it, so that could be another option too. So this past June, it stayed pretty cool, and the tops didn't really start dying until July. So could you go ahead and harvest some in June? I mean, they're not
Yes.
like potatoes, right, where you don't harvest till the tops die.
Right, so you can harvest garlic anytime you want to. If you wanted your fresh garlic in March, there's nothing wrong with that. You just won't have a big developed bulb like you see in the grocery store. It'll look more like an onion, but it tastes fantastic. They call that green garlic.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Do y'all have any questions?
can you tell us about scapes, please?
Yes, garlic scapes are the shoot that comes off the garlic plant and onions. And it's the shoot that the plant is thinning up to try to reproduce, and eventually it will have a seed pod on top of it. They are delicious. You want to harvest them when they're nice and tender. If they get too hard, they're not edible anymore. But you need to harvest the scapes, regardless if you eat them or not. You need to harvest it off the plant because it will alter the taste once it produces a seed pod, and it's not as good.
You can also cut those up and put them in the freezer and use
Yes.
as you need.
Yes.
Real good in spaghetti sauce, and yes.
Question, how
Yes.
far apart should you plant the garlic bulbs from one another?
Good question.
I recommend 6 inches apart.
And you can also, we're gonna have an onion class coming up, and you can also kind of put the onions all in there too, so you don't waste any space, because you can do the onions at any time, harvest at any time. Now, on our website, we have these garlic growing kits. It has cut and seed meal in there, some tomato tone, and the garlic, and all the directions we just gave you. We also, if you don't want the garlic with the kit, we also sell in store and online just the garlic. So stay local.
Yes.
And also, I did want to announce that Fabel Farms has this fantastic event venue. Just introduced a new event venue to your farm. Can you tell me about it? How's it going?
Yes, thank you for asking. We built this event space barn, and we rent it out for weddings or any occasion that you would like to have a barn setting with a beautiful view of the pond. You can go to fablefarms.com to see the venue and see our prices.
Great. And also, you can get dogs.
Yes, and you can get, Sally also provides her dove release.
And I just attended an event yesterday, your Primal Feast event, and it was fantastic. There was tons of people. How many people showed up for that?
Around 100.
It was amazing.
Nice time. It was a farm to table dinner.
Farm to table, yes. So it's from all of our local farms, and we really have a community here. Richland County, Fairfield County, we work together. So definitely check out all your farms. Any other questions? No? Well, we appreciate you coming out to this garlic class.
Yes, thank you. That's
So-
my legal name.
So who does not love garlic? Oh my gosh. I don't even want to be your friend if you don't like garlic. Well, well, we appreciate y'all coming out. Any further questions? No? Going once, going twice? Well, thank y'all so much for coming.